Hello. So we're going to try this through streaming this straight to YouTube again, and of course the video is not going to be studio quality. It's just in case there's something that's said that you need to go back over. So it's not fabulous. So how was the work? How was the homework? Anybody want to share anything? This is an interactive class. The only thing that goes into there is what's on this mic, so you can share something.
Well, I love what happened to Manasseh.
Oh, yeah?
I loved it. And you know what I loved also was how it brought the example of how you hit bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And you hit bottom, but the awesomeness of it is he accepted that. And I really did. I got chill bumps and everything. And I went, yes, yes. Because, we hit our bottom, and sometimes we just go, oh, well.
It is what it is. When we hit bottom, it is what it is. All right, let's see if disconnected. So Uzziah, bless him. So he walked with God, but in the end, his pride got him. He was a hero. All the people loved him. He did all this great stuff. He kept him safe. But in the end, pride got him. Jotham did right in God's eyes, but he didn't address the high places. Why didn't he? Any thoughts on that?
I think he just accepted them. They've been, it was history. Really, Solomon is the one that started that, right? I mean, he doesn't mention it, but it does in the Bible that Solomon put up high places for his pagan wives. So
He just accepted it.
I think he just said, well, they're here. It's not bothering me.
Right. So he took care of himself. He made sure he served God. He made sure he did what he was supposed to do, right? But he didn't lead the people to follow God. He didn't tear down the high places and say, hey, let's serve the Lord like we're supposed to. He didn't lead that way. And I think, to a certain degree, there's some pride in that. Because anytime it's about you, it's pride. Whether it's positive or negative, it's pride. So, well, I'm going to heaven and I'm doing what God says, so if y'all don't, that's on you. That's pride. Ahaz did evil. He worshipped every god but God, little g God, but the big G God. Right? And in the end, it says in Isaiah 7, talks about how the prophet came and said, hey, if you ask God, he'll help you. And he refused to ask God. He refused to humble himself. So pride got him. But he didn't do like the others, right? All that evil because all those high places were left up. He saw what his father did and he felt like he was going to do just the opposite. And then Hezekiah did right by God. And in the end, pride took him out. So what is the common denominator? Pride. So what that says to me is that, and I know you ladies have heard this because you've been in the ladies' meetings, it probably didn't start with you. There is nothing new under the sun. By the way, I've got these slides up here. I don't remember what's on them, so we're just going to wing it. Sorry.
Chase it too fast. Go back one. Please, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. I like to write this down.
Okay.
Anybody else wants to do that?
It is a good idea.
Yeah. Hello.
And so that pride is any time.
She's really picking on me tonight.
Who is?
Dress.
Look, I can't separate you too much further.
See, if we were in high school together, we would have gotten in trouble. The science. We would be calling our parents.
Think I both call them. So pride looks different in everybody. It's always about self. always putting yourself down, that's about you. You are at the center of your world. If you're always thinking how wonderful you are and how, you smell like a bed of roses, you're still at the center of your world. And that's pride and self-centeredness.
These are excellent things.
They're,
These are really good. Did you do these?
I made the slides, but it's right out of the book. Well, pretty much out of the book.
They're wonderful.
So everything that's here, all the issues that you may be facing, that someone else may be facing, that you may see in your family, it's always been here. It's not new. And if you look through your family line, you're going to see, well, Mama, I know y'all don't say Mama. Mama did that. Mama acted that way, so maybe that's where I got it. Her mom did that. If you look back through, you'll see elements of it. And it may be something that you see in them, but you're ignoring in yourself because it's too hard to look at and you don't want to admit you're like them. But that is absolutely a possibility. So if you see it in your mom and your grandma and your, papa or whatever else, there's a good chance it's in you. And if not, there's at least kind of a proclivity to it, a leaning that could be an issue that you need to be mindful of when you're going through life. It didn't start with you. Our history and our family's history can affect our now.
That's good.
Absolutely can affect our now. So a lot of times you'll hear that called generational curses, generational issues, generational cycles. I usually use issues because it's easier for people to say, okay, well, that's an issue. But it's typically a cycle. And you may see it as a cycle in your life, where it's not just, okay, well, I made this bad decision and then I'm going through here and it's like, oh, I made that decision again, and then you're going along, you're cycling through and you got to stop that cycle. And that's what this class is about, stop that cycle. Don't pass it to your kids and don't stay in the cycle for you. So anything that captivates our minds can be bondage. And she made the point that it will captivate your mind before you are in physical bondage. So what are your thoughts? What are you thinking on? Anything that you think on all the time is an idol. And if it's not the word, you might want to check that out. What we think about most is what's captivated us. So if you're constantly thinking about how bad you are and how, oh, I'm just so horrible, and man, I just keep doing the same thing, and wow, I was just really rude to that person, and I just keep doing that. And, there's a cycle, there's a thought process, and now it's time to renew your mind. And you can't do that without staying in the Word. That's all part of this healing process. So if all you think about is food, then food is your idol. Don't be looking up here. Anything you focus on more than God is an idol. And some of us need to get off Facebook. Some of us spend way too much time scrolling on social media and way too little time talking to God, reading His Word, focusing on Him, worshiping. And I've been guilty of this. I have a thing set on my phone where I can set a limit.
do you?
Yes, I can set a timer on my Facebook. I can only spend so much time on it a day. Or actually on any of my social media apps. And so I do that because it's so easy to sit there and because you're just tired or, I've had a really rough day and I actually don't want to deal with people. I don't want to think about anything and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. When the thing that's going to make you feel better is prayer, worship, and the Word. We're substituting what we need with something that's easy to access. Ta-da! This class is going to break out of those old thought patterns and help you to renew your mind. And I know that's the last slide. So, that's the whole week in a nutshell, all your homework. So, what did you guys get out of it? Is there anything that stuck out to you in your homework, Joe? Anything? Okay. And one of those kings chose not to, didn't they? Yeah. He puts up with us pretty good, doesn't he? I wouldn't put up with me. Anybody else?
One part that I put, talking about what we were saying a little bit earlier, I wrote, it seems like the sins of the fathers, like a snowball going downhill, like bigger and bigger, the way we get. I mean, like you said about your ancestors. My ancestors used to, there's alcoholism, drugs. I mean, there's just so much sexual abuse, so much stuff.
Yeah.
And it just rolls and rolls, and it does get in here. It gets in here. It gets in here. It really messes with it.
Can anyone else see those patterns in their family?
I can see, I don't know too much about my family, but, and my son might do me very wrong, but I can see a pattern with him and me, the kings, and their son going generational. He's like far worse than what I did, So I can see that pattern.
And he had no idea that was something he needed to be aware of.
And I didn't even know him at the time.
Yeah, he didn't know until he was grown, like in his 20s.
Yeah.
So I do see that.
You ladies got anything? Anybody else? Mike?
I got quite a bit out of this, actually. I really enjoyed this. But I think what for me, toward the last lesson, I need to be willing to expand my thinking about captivity and freedom, because I've always viewed deliverance from what I have been delivered in the past, what I know my shortcomings are, what I know my snares are. But I have blind spots too. And I need to be willing to open my eyes and say, God, help me see these things, because these are the things that I don't have armor established in my life. And these are the areas that I've seen as going through here is, wow. I felt this too. So for me, it's an opening my eyes to the things that I've been blind to, and asking the Lord to help me to reestablish new boundaries, new armor, spiritual armor, knowledge.
That's awesome. So, you can see where these patterns come from. I dealt with a lot of, you're going to hear a lot of testimonies, so I'm not going to ask you guys to share anything too personal, so buckle up, better go. I dealt with a lot of, we need to, I think I've said this to you guys, we need to stop. We need to stop thinking the way Hollywood and the media tells us to think. We just do. We need to stop that. Because they're going to give you a picture that may be a small portion of what's happening. They're not telling you the whole truth. Nowhere in the media, nowhere in Hollywood are you going to get the whole truth. You're going to get bits and pieces. And I understand that we look at things, like I can set a giant bowl of fruit here in the middle of this room. We have apples, and bananas, and grapes, and stuff. And everyone's going to see the same bowl. But you might see apples, and you might see bananas, and you're going to see grapes. And you're going to say, oh, it's a bowl of grapes. It's a bowl of apples. It's a bowl of bananas. You're only getting one view. And I can tell you that the media view is very narrow. It depends on what they want you to see. Hollywood is the same way, what they want you to see. So when you look at people, you may not know what they've been through. You may not see the things that are in their heart, the wounds that are there, unless God says, hey, look at that. So I dealt with a lot of rejection. My mother abandoned me 999 times. And I think I've even said in this class, I talked about, sex trafficking isn't always just people who are locked in the basement. Sometimes it's a little girl that's handed off to this one and that one and the other one, right? So I was just passed off to everybody my whole childhood with my mom. But it didn't start with me. My mother dealt with a lot of rejection because who I was told my grandfather was my whole childhood was really her stepfather because, my grandmother was with someone else before him. It's a big family secret. My mother was half Indian. That's why it was such a secret, and that's why my grandfather couldn't stand her. My grandmother dealt with rejection. So you can see the pattern going down through. Now, the response to that rejection is going to be very different with each person. It may be they hate themselves, and so they act prideful and puffed up, and I'm so beautiful, and I'm the best thing in the world because they got to convince themselves that they are. Other people you see at Walmart in their pajamas and looking like they crawled out of bed and hadn't showered in 6 weeks. It's the same thing. It's a different manifestation of the same wound. And so we need to be mindful of that as we go through this course. This week, the rubber meets the road. It is no longer a history lesson. So, do your homework. And you want to hear me. All right, guys, are you ready to watch the video?
Yeah.
Am I that boring today?
I was supporting you.
I know.
Bless your heart.